Deion Sanders, right?
Yeah,
He's been coaching up the ranks of college and he's getting towards like the higher level.
Yeah.
And like he brought, I forget, because he was at Jackson State with his last college. He brought this chick in and he was like, all you guys, you're not all going to make it to the pros or anything, but you're all going to, you're all college players. You're all like, targets basically.
Yeah.
And so he said, this chick right here, I think she's like an ex-porn star / other stuff, she's going to break down to you how all these chicks are going to fleece you in college, going into the pros and forward from there.
Deion Sanders.
That's so valuable.
Oh, it's extremely valuable. And it's
Dude,
like,
he's a genius.
it should be a college course.
It is.
Like,
coming soon to Crypto Mindset.
Dude,
but
if only PJ Washington got that.
Yeah, but it's like, it's like she is the type of person who's like espousing that same type of information, but nobody fucking talks about her. But like, it's useful for guys to know that information so that, because it's like you said, it's a weapon used against
and there should be nothing controversial about it whatsoever, because that's just as valuable and should be just as common as you weren't shit 5 years ago. Now you're a high earner. Now it's time to stop. And now it's time to start watching who you have in your circle, whether that's friends or women. But to get down to specifics, your friends can fuck you. Your girls could only be coming on to you because they want to get your money. Or they want.
Dude, it's messed up because like Deion Sanders has to bring people in to teach these kids that. When you've said this about our own mother, why don't mothers at least slightly kind of at least prep their sons on like, yeah, women are gonna try to play you. You said that to our mom, and she was like, well, and our grandmother actually was the one that was telling us like, yeah, so this is what they're gonna do.
Yeah, all my mom said was like, I see you guys started a Red Pill channel. You look like a couple of simps to me. I'm like, thanks, mom.
Yes, mom.
Always being supportive.
It could be that whole thing. You know how like old men just stop giving a fuck after a while? But maybe it's that whole thing too, where like they kind of given up, like, okay, I'm not gonna get any more sex anymore, so I'm just gonna live. Like then it becomes more of a natural man life and stuff. Where maybe it's the women's head, well, I'm not gonna have sex anymore, really. Yeah. So then they just completely are playing the genetic game.
They forget too.
Yeah.
They forget the mind games. They're like, well, I don't really remember.
All right, my bad. Sorry.
All right, cool.
All right, I hustled your granddad to get into World War II because I was trying to see this guy. I honey dicked him into get into the enlisting.
Oh,
but anyway,
man.
Have trouble getting dates or picking up women. They tell you that they guarantee you take this course, you'll date the hottest girl in the room.
I don't know anyone that is guaranteeing that at this stage.
Let's go, Rollo.
I don't think anybody has ever guaranteed that. However, if there is a benefit, a net benefit for that, it is the fact that you can take a guy such as Ben here and level him up from, say, a 5 to a 6. Is that not an improvement?
Let's go, Rollo. Let's go, Rollo.
When I heard that, I was like, that guy just like fucking took it too. He didn't even say shit.
Because that's Rollo Tomasi.
Yo, because if he tried to clap back, Rollo would have just diced him.
Dude, he's literally in there bobbing and weaving, and then like when there's a comment, he just throws a hook.
That was so cold, Rollo. Damn, son.
Rollo did this for the culture.
A net benefit for that. It is the fact that you can take a guy such as Ben here and level him up from, say, a 5 to a 6. Is that not an improvement? If you went from being ordinary to being somewhat extraordinary, is that not a net benefit to a gentleman like Ben?
You say the greatest problem with men is men are purposeless and sedated by pornography, online video games, alcohol, or marijuana.
Yes, absolutely.
What do you mean sedated by?
Dude, he's killing this right now. Yeah. He's killing it.
So super quick. I literally just want to make this point, then you guys can keep playing it because I don't want to hold you guys up. But the interesting thing about this is like we all hypothesize that they're going for, we can't get Tate because he's in jail. We can't get him for the show. So let's get second best would be where the material derives from, which is Rollo, and paint him as the bad guy. But Aiden, he's just not, I'm really not getting the vibe that he's being painted terribly by the Dr. Phil show.
Being painted. He's really handling himself well.
But I don't even see a crazy effort to do that because they're highlighting him saying things that at least are commonly understood about the faults, because we're quick in society to point out the faults of men, right? So he's and a show like Dr. Phil is always about like, what are your young boys doing? Are they becoming obsessed with pornography? Are they becoming obsessed with smoking pot and fucking around in the streets and doing things that are bad for them? And so then they usually lean to like a father figure type character or an intellect of some sort to talk about the problem we're having with our boys and our children, and are your kids struggling at home with this very same shit? And Rollo's kind of serving that role at this moment. So it's quite presentable. And I do give credit to the Dr. Phil show for that.
Because Rollo's so well spoken, he's dictating and painting his narrative on the show. He's not not allowing Dr. Phil or anything that they're doing with the cutting or how they portray him to dictate that narrative. He's dictating himself.
Yeah, but I'm also saying I don't think there was a tremendous effort to paint him terribly. Really.
No. It was being really fair. I mean, I mean, I think maybe Dr. Phil's smart enough to know which way the wind's blowing a little bit. Especially, I think what could have gone with going back to the beginning of the video. If he had gone, who knows, Andrew Tate. If most of the audience didn't raise his hand, I think he could have leaned it towards a fucking like a slaughterhouse. But since he saw the entire fucking crowd raise their hand, he was like, "Oh shit!" And you can even see it right there. We went back. You guys are gonna just go back in the stream. Look where Dr. Phil like goes like, okay, shoot.
Understanding,
yeah. So it's
well, and I think like, I mean, Dr. Phil's a smart motherfucker.
Oh, of course.
He's like, they were everybody in the audience was laughed after that one clip because they know like, oh yeah, that's like funny, right?
Dr. Phil strikes me as this guy that's like this kind of neutral in the middle, still has common sense in a no common sense era.
Yeah. Right. So I bet you like he's like, okay, like let's actually like kind of try to hear both sides of the story. Well, basically, hey, here's because like once it gets into the talk between the people with the books and the women on the panel come on, like it gets very like, well, we're just gonna shove our opinion down your throat a little bit, but not like a whole lot, right?
This is the perfect way I can put it. You know how most mainstream media characters that have a talk show, they have to push back against material like this and make it seem outlandish because it goes against the liberal agenda. He would only push back because it's not family friendly, because he's the family friendly talk show host, not because how dare you challenge the agenda.
So I think he's just lobbing up the points and letting the conversation go whatever way it goes. If Rollo was to say bad things, that would paint his narrative negatively. He's just lobbing it up, giving the opportunity to be good or bad.
Right. Yep. Which makes, and because he's like, hey, I don't care how this shakes out. I just want good television.
Yep, absolutely.
I want those ads.
It isn't like this is The View.
Yeah.
Yes, it's not. And it's not Piers Morgan.
Right.
How old are you? 24.
That's 24.
24 years old. So we're looking at a Gen Z. You're looking at a generation that was acculturated and socialized behind a screen. We have a generation of.
Yeah, he cut.
No, I wasn't telling you to stop. That was a cut.
Yeah.
Behind a screen. Bink. Next point.
What we call lost boys right now, who don't have a father figure. They don't have any guidance, whether it's masculinity or much else for that matter. And so, of course, if I can say, hey, look, I'm an older gentleman and I can help level you up, and common sense is so rare right now, we can commodify it, then I'm going to go and do my best to help men. I'm not in the business of helping men become better men. I'm in the business of helping men have the tools and the equipment so that they can build their own lives.
You say the greatest problem with men is men are purposeless and sedated by pornography, online video games, alcohol, or marijuana.
Yes, absolutely.
What do you mean sedated by?
They're escapisms is what they are. If your crummy life is, if your escapisms are better than your crummy life, then you're going to dwell more in those escapisms. So what do men do today where they're addicted to pornography? Anyone in this room on their phone can go get hardcore pornography anytime they want to. There's a reason why it's free. If you go and you look at marijuana being legalized, if you look at the opioid epidemic right now, if you look at the way we sedate men today, that is the number one, I think anyways, is the number one problem that we're looking at for really the latter half of the millennial generation and all of Generation Z right now.
Yeah, and you talk about that the suicide rate for men is 3.5 to 5 times,
depending on whose numbers you're looking at. The demographics are.
Yeah, than it is for women. And you interpret that as meaning what?
I interpret that as meaning that those are deaths of despair. We have a term for that right now. Men get zeroed out. They build up lives, they build up personalities, they build up life equity, let's just say. They lose a job, they lose their wives, they lose out on something, and no one is there to tell them how to bounce back from that rejection, how to bounce back from that defeat, how to come back from being zeroed out.
This guy just looks like he wants to cry.
Yeah.
God damn, dude.
Rollo's a beast.
I can't imagine what, because they cut it, so there has to have been some other conversation we haven't heard yet in here.
Right.
So they're faced with two really very real decisions. One is rebuild yourself or delete yourself. And unfortunately, most men are deleting themselves right now.
Most men are deleting themselves. What?
Well, the prime demographic for suicide for men
Out
right
of
now
the
is 45
equation
to
of being
65 years
caught
old.
between
It's
those
what they call
two
death
Come
decisions.
on,
despair.
Dr. Phil.
We constantly harp on the fact that men don't have friends, they don't have close friends, they don't have the same networks that women do. And then we put the blame for their mental health back on them by saying it's toxic masculinity. And if you guys were just more like women, then you would reach out for therapy of some sorts. If women were killing themselves at 4 times the rate that men are, you would have a dedicated month and the NFL would change their uniforms to pink or something else so that we would have some sort of female suicide prevention month. But we don't see that right now
For the
because
culture.
we blame it on toxic masculinity.
What do you mean when you say media celebrates masculinity as equaling acting feminine?
Well, that's the only time that the mainstream media will ever celebrate masculinity is when you see The Rock in a tutu.
Right.
Whenever you see men behaving conventionally feminine, that's when the media decides to celebrate it. But yet, when a guy is acting in a convention,
Yeah,
Yep.
he cut.
That
was not a cut.
cut. Yeah.
Mm.
Shit, he's cooking.
That was the
He's
best
cooking
part.
with gasoline right now.
Dude,
Yeah.
I mean, you
That's
know,
the best part of it.
the whole thing behind the transgender thing, you know, in my opinion, is just like, hey, you know, let's celebrate men's femininity. And it's like you see
Yeah.
these guys just and then they're just like crushing the
Mhm.
female competitions. They're like, oh my god. Yeah, it's kind of like the chicks who like start fights with dudes and then they like fight back.
Yep.
You know, it's like the same type of shit. It's just it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know.
he shined in this.
I don't know. I don't know
Yeah.
what chicks are gonna do when there's like a dude chick that starts hitting the back.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. It's hilarious.
That's
But-
gonna.
Oh, dude, you ever seen the they don't even have to be gay per se on social media or TikTok mainly.